Hey, good morning and welcome to Fridays with Fenning. Don't you hate it when people are always on their phones taking photos of a plate of food or a terrible video footage at a live concert? You know, it is such a distraction when they should just be enjoying the moment. Now, how often have you heard people complain like that? Well, I would like to suggest that those complainers are wrong, and I'll explain why in just a few moments' time. This week is a special week of prayer across the nation. The prayer initiative called Thy Kingdom Come encourages us to sign up for an hour during the 7 days leading up to Pentecost. I chose 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. on Thursday morning, and I decided to walk and pray. The sun had just risen, the dawn chorus was in full swing, and I had my phone to listen to my favourite song at the moment by Bethel called The Goodness of God. So to stop myself from being distracted, I prayed out loud and I told God what I was grateful for, and I asked him to work in some really difficult situations that are going on in people's lives at the moment. And as I did so, things just kept catching my eye. You know, the sun breaking through the early morning mist, a single poppy in flower on the edge of a wheat field, a wren singing its heart out in a willow tree. Honestly, it was beautiful. And at times I just stopped walking and savoured the moment, enjoying my surroundings and just being conscious of the presence of God with me. You know, there's a line in Psalm 46 that calls us to be still and know that I'm God. Eugene Peterson translated it, step out of the traffic, take a long, loving look at me, your high God. You know, there is something precious, something important about being present, about noticing what's around us. And what it does is that it helps to center us, to not be distracted by past events or even future plans. Last week I spoke about the importance of looking back and remembering the good things that we've experienced, especially when we go through hard times like we are at the moment. You know, looking back is good and helpful, and it can remind us of how God has worked in the past, and it can bring hope. But we are not to live in the past. Nostalgia is good to a point, but not at the expense of living in the here and now. Today is a gift from God, and he wants us to live it to the full, capturing and valuing every moment, not allowing worry and distractions to make us miss the joy of now. Now, we need to learn to see God's goodness in the ordinary things that are all around us all the time, because that's what Jesus did. For him, it was so apparent that we live in a God-bathed world. He saw it in nature. Look at the birds. They don't sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them, he says. Are they not much more valuable? Are you not much more valuable than they? Walk out into the fields and look at the flowers. Have you ever seen colour and design quite like it? The best dressed people look shabby alongside them. And then Jesus says this, what I'm trying to do here is to get you to relax, to not be so preoccupied with getting, so that you can respond to God's giving. You know both God and how he works, so steep your life in God reality, in God initiative, God provisions. And don't worry about missing out. You'll find all your everyday human concerns will be met. You see, Jesus could see God's goodness everywhere. I mean, I wonder how many ordinary examples of God's goodness do we experience every day and yet fail to even notice? I mean, I love how William Henry Davies sums it up in this well-known poem. What is this life if full of care? We have no time to stand and stare, no time to stand beneath the bough and stare as long as sheep and cows. No time to see when woods we pass where squirrels hide their nuts in grass. No time to see in broad daylight streams full of stars like skies at night. No time to turn at beauty's glance and watch her feet how they can dance. No time to wait till her mouth can enrich that smile her eyes began. A poor life this is if full of care. We have no time to stand and stare. John Ortberg wrote about this in his book, The Life You've Always Wanted, that if we want to live with joy, we have to develop eyes that see just as Jesus did. In other words, we need to learn the discipline of noticing. It's a conscious, intentional thing to do. It's noticing that we're noticing. And why is this important? Well, for at least a couple of reasons. Firstly, it helps us appreciate what we have, what we're experiencing, and so it helps us to bring joy to our lives. It's about capturing and savouring the moment. You know, you must have done this at times, when you've sat back at a family lunch or a meal out with friends and you've just watched as everyone chatted and as they laughed and interacted, and it brought joy to your heart. Or maybe you've walked into the bedroom of your child or your grandchild as they're sleeping and you've just stood and watched and felt so grateful for this beautiful gift. You see, that's the art of noticing, or as John Ortberg calls it, the discipline of noticing. In other words, we have to work it into our lives on a daily basis. And this is where Instagram and social media is so good. I think more often than not, it enhances the moment. That photo of a huge cooked breakfast in front of you means that you've clocked it, you've noticed it, you've appreciated it. That video of the sun setting means that you've stopped and captured it. On my walk on Thursday morning, taking photos of what I was experiencing, seeing, didn't take away from the experience, it added to it. So these moments of noticing brings joy to our hearts, and it helps us appreciate the goodness of God to each one of us. And secondly, why? Well, we're doing this. We're storing up memories that we can look back on both tomorrow and in the days to come. We're banking them for future joy. So listen, if you want to live a life of gratitude and joy, then learn the discipline of noticing, of being present, of stepping out of the traffic and taking a long, loving look at God and His goodness to you. And so maybe it's time to be getting your phones out more and capturing photos and videos of the goodness of God in the ordinary things of life. And when you do stop to notice, I promise that it will make your day and your life better. Hey, have a great weekend, and I look forward to you joining us at 10:30 a.m. on Sunday. Take care. Have a great time.